my name is Piyush Sachdeva, and in this video, I'll be showing you how you can get yourself started with Amazon EKS. So, if you are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button below to get notified about all my upcoming videos. And if you like the video, I would really appreciate if you give us a thumbs up. Let's look at the agenda item for today. So, we'll be seeing what exactly is an EKS, what are the steps that needs to be performed to create an EKS cluster, what is the architecture of a EKS cluster, how to create an EKS cluster using AWS console, and how to create an EKS cluster using EKS CTL utility. So what exactly is EKS? So as the name suggests, it is Elastic Kubernetes Service. It is a managed service by Kubernetes. So what do you mean by managed Kubernetes service? So let's see the features of it to understand it in a better way. It manages the control plane component for you. All the necessary application services, they are pre-installed for you, like container runtime, master processes, everything, and you don't have to worry about managing all those. Then it takes care of your backup and scaling. It handles the patching and upgrade of master nodes. You just have to worry about your worker nodes, the management of those. It comes with inbuilt logging capabilities. There are different ways to set up an EKS cluster. The first way is using AWS console. So this is like you go to your console and you manually provide all the details and it will create the cluster for you. The second way is probably the easiest and time saving way, which is through EKS CTL utility. We'll see this more in detail. The third way is using the third party infrastructure as a code tool such as Ansible or Terraform. Let's go ahead and have a look how we could create a highly available and scalable EKS architecture. So in an enterprise level organization and in a production grade environment, we would want to keep all the control plane components and workload in separate VPCs. So we have our VPC A to host our workload and everything, and we have VPC B to host our control plane components. So within VPC B, we could create an EKS cluster, all the kubeproxy, core DNS, everything over here in a private subnet with access to ECR for, storing the container images. And it is only accessible from the bastion host that's reside in the public subnet. So consider this as the local EC2 server that we have provisioned. We have installed our kubectl and AWS credentials. So only this server would have access to connect to the API servers and to issue commands against the clusters. And we would restrict this to be only accessible from a certain IP range. Let's say our organization's CIDR. The same way we can configure our VPC-A, where all the worker nodes are residing in the private subnet behind an auto-scaling group to make them highly available. Even if any node crashes, other nodes will still be able to handle the workload. And then these worker nodes would only have access from the bastion host that residing in the public subnet behind an auto scaling group. And your worker nodes would only be able to traverse to the internet to download updates and security patches through the NAT gateways that are placed in the public subnets. So this is like how an highly available and scalable EKS architecture would look like. Let's go ahead and see some more details. Let's see at the different step you would take to provision an EKS cluster with AWS console. Suppose you are the admin user of a Kubernetes cluster or an organization. The first step you would do is to log into your AWS console using the admin privileges, or if you have sufficient access to provision a cluster. As part of the next step, what you would do is you create the EKS cluster using the different options such as using AWS console, EKS CTL utility, or infrastructure as a code tools. The next step you would do is to create a cluster role, attach that cluster policy to that role, and then at the end attach that role to the cluster. Then you would create a bastion host, you provision that server, you install AWS CLI utility, and you install kubectl utility to interact with the cluster. Then you would create worker nodes. You create node group, IAM role, policy, and then you attach that role and add computing resources to each of the nodes. At the end, you would deploy your applications and all your workloads. You expose the service of the app, and that's it. That's all about it. And then you sit back and relax. All right. Now that we have seen the steps that we're gonna perform to implement an EKS cluster, let's jump into it. Let's see how we can provision the EKS cluster from AWS console, and then we'll see how we can do the same with EKS CTL utility, which is the easiest way. So I'm in my AWS console. I'll go over at the search bar and I'll search EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service. I'll click on that and it'll open a wizard to create the EKS cluster. So I'll give the cluster a name. Let's say I'll give it test cluster. I click on next step and then it will ask me a lot of information. So first is the name. So it says non-editable after the creation. So make sure you give it the right name. But for the sake of this demonstration purpose, I'll give it test cluster. You can select the Kubernetes version or you could just leave it by default from here. Okay, then the next step is to create a cluster service role that will be attached to the cluster and which has all the required permission to manage the cluster. So because we don't have any roles created yet, so what I'll do is I'll click over here. It says go to console if you don't have the role created. So I'll just open this in a new tab and I'll create the cluster role. So it's been opening and then I'll click over here, create role. And then I'll select EKS from the service, which is probably down here. And then I'll select the EKS cluster. Click on next, permissions. Then over policy, there is already a managed policy provided by AWS, Amazon EKS cluster policy. So make sure you select this. If you don't see this policy over here, you could just search EKS cluster policy over here in the search and it will provide you the same. So because I can see it, I'll select this one. Click on next. I don't need tags for this. Click on next review and I'll give it a name. Let's give it EKS role or I'll give it EKS cluster role. And it has, make sure it has the policy attached to it. Then I'll click on create role. Once the role has been created, it says the role has been created. I'll go back to my console and I'll hit the refresh. Now I can see the role over here. So I'll attach the role. Now the next step is secret encryption. I'll keep it disabled for this demo. Click over here in the next. So now it's asking a lot of networking options. So first is VPC. I just have one VPC in my AWS account. So it's by default, it selected the default one. Ideally, like in a production grade or an enterprise grade system, what you would do is you would create all your control plane components, including the EKS cluster master nodes in one VPC and all your worker nodes in separate VPC. But for the sake of this demonstration purpose, we'll be doing it all in one VPC. So it selected the default VPC and it selected all the available subnets. Because I'm in Canada Central region, it has 3 available subnets and I'll select all 3 of them. Then it's asking for security groups to restrict any access to the network interfaces if you want to restrict it. So I'll just leave it default for now. If you want your API server endpoint accessible over the internet from any source, then you could select it public. Like it is not recommended, but for this demo, I'll select it public. But what you can do is you could do it from private, or if you are accessing it from a specific IP range. So what you could do is you select it public and from advanced setting, you put your source over here. Okay, it will be just an CIDR range. So I'll just keep it public. Then you leave this networking add-on components version as default. So we have CNI, we have CoreDNS and QProxy. I'll keep the default version. These would be the default stable version, and I'll click on next. So this basically this screen is for logging. If you want to enable your API server logs, audit logs, authenticator logs, control manager, scheduler logs, then you could enable it. This would help you to stream the logs to CloudWatch. So I don't want to do that. So I'll leave it default for now. I'll hit next. Okay. Then the next option over here is to review everything. Make sure you created the service role, attached it correctly, selected the correct Kubernetes version, gave it a appropriate name, selected the networking as per your needs, and you hit on create once you verify everything is correct and everything is like what you expected. So it's probably going to take some time. Now the status is in creating state. Okay, meanwhile it is creating the cluster. Let's go ahead to our console and do some other task as well, which is I'll probably create an EC2 server from where we could access the server endpoint, access the cluster endpoints, and issue kubectl commands remotely. So I'll just go over here, I'll search for EC2, and I'll select a virtual server for this purpose. I'll go to instances. Okay, I'll hit on launch instance. I'll select AMI from the available AMIs. So I'll select the Ubuntu AMI. Here it is. And I'll keep it like the smallest possible family size, which is T2 micro and which is free as well. And then I'll keep all the options as default. It will again be created in your default VPC, and there is no subnet preference. So whatever is available, it will provision the instance on that. And I don't need any user data for this purpose. So let's click on next, add storage. I'll keep the default storage, root storage. I'll probably give it a name. I'll give it login server as the name. Next, security group, because I would want it to be accessible over port 22 so that I can SSH into it and issue commands remotely from there. So I'll create a new security group which has SSH access over port 22. I could just restrict it to my IP, or for this because I'll be destroying all those server resources after this demonstration. So I'll just keep it open for public. Okay, then I'll hit review and launch. Make sure you review everything from here. Hit on launch, and then you select a key pair. Hit on launch instance. So again, it's gonna take a few seconds. Once it is provisioned, we'll go and install kubectl and AWS CLI over there. Okay, so I've waited for some time and my EC2 server is now up and running. So what I'll do is I'll grab the public IPv4 DNS from here and I'll open this in the PuTTY session. Okay, before that I need to import the key as well, which I have used to create the server. So what I'll do is I have a pagent running already. So I'll do a add key. I'll use the key tech tutorials. This is what I've used to provision the instance, and I'll open it. So it has imported the key. Now I put my hostname over here. Okay, and I hit open. So it will authenticate with that pagent key. Okay, I'll give this a username Ubuntu. Maybe I'll just increase the font, appearance, and then change. I'll do this. This should be it. I'll remove the bell as well. Okay. So we are in our EC2 server, which will be used to issue the commands to the API server for our EKS cluster. So before that, I'll just go ahead and do an apt update. And then once this is done, I'll just go ahead and install AWS CLI. So we go to this link over here. Yep, and it has the instructions how we can do that. So I'll be pasting all the links that I'll be using in this video in the description section below. So don't worry about it. It will all be there. So let's say Linux version, CLI version 2. Okay, this is what we need. Okay, so probably I'll just copy this command. Okay, Okay, it's been downloaded. Now I'll unzip the file. Okay, it says unzip utility is not been installed, so I'll just quickly install that as well. Okay, it's installed. Now I'll just do this. So once the install is done, I just execute this install executable that is there inside that folder. Okay, it says it's been installed. You can now run the version. So if we do aws hyphen hyphen version, it'll return the aws cli version. So this is done. Now next is to install the kubectl command line tool. So I'll go over here, EKS latest user guide, install kubectl. This link again I'll be pasting in the description section. So if you remember correctly, our Kubernetes version was 1.20. So I'll select this one. Okay, I'll call this particular installable. Okay, it's downloading. And once this is done, so this is the optional step. I'll skip this one. And then I'll provide the executable permission to the utility chmod plus x. And then I'll copy the kubectl utility to the path folder so that we don't have to create environment variable. Okay, I'll use this. And now if you do which kubectl, it will show you the absolute path where it is. Just do a kubectl version and it will show you the version of kubectl command line utility. Once you have installed kubectl, let's go and quickly check if our EKS cluster has been provisioned yet or not. So I'll go back to my console and I see the cluster is active and it has populated some of the relevant details like API server endpoint, OpenID Connect URL, IAM role, and the certificate authority. So this cluster is now available for us to use. If we go to the compute section, there is no node group yet. So these are basically the worker nodes that we'll be creating. Then in networking section, it will show you a bunch of other details. You could just update it if you want from the manage networking section and it will be applied to the cluster. Then we have add-on. So these are the networking add-ons that we have specified during the cluster creation like kubeproxy, CoreDNS, VPC CNI. They are still in creating stage. So it's fine. We'll give it some time. And we haven't used any authenticator, so this would be blank. If we would have enabled login, it would have appear over here. So this is good. There is no updates that were done on the cluster, so this is also blank. So this is good. Let's just go ahead to our putty session and configure it to use with AWS. So I'll go back over here. I'll clear the screen. I'll do a AWS configure. It will ask me few details like AWS access key ID. So remember, this is the same access key from which you have created the cluster. So I've created it with my admin user. So I'll go to the console. I'll go to IAM and users. So this was my user. This is the same user from which I've created the EKS cluster. It has administration access. And then I'll go to security credentials and I would have to use this access key ID and secret access key ID. Once it is deleted, I can create a new one. Okay. And okay, I'll copy the access key ID from here, paste it over here. Now it's asking me AWS secret access key, which is over here. Okay, and then it's asking the default region. For me, it's CS Central 1. And I'll leave this as blank. Okay, so this would have now configured the AWS command line tool so that it has enough permission to interact with the EKS cluster. Now the next step is I'll do AWS STS get caller identity to just make sure that we are using the correct identity. If you are using a role, so it would appear as a role details over here, but now that I am using my user, so it's showing me the ARN of my user. So this is good. Now the next step is we have to update the kube config to generate the credentials for my particular user. So I'll go over here to my web browser, and I have this link opened over here. So I'll use this one, AWS EKS update kube config hyphen hyphen name and the name of the cluster. So I'll paste it over here, and this would be test cluster. Okay, I'll hit enter. Once I do that, it shows added a new context to this particular directory. So if we want to see what's there inside this file, this is our kubeconfig file. It will have those authentication details like cluster certification authority data, server endpoint, command that is executed behind the scenes to get the temporary token for this particular region. So once this is done, and once you have followed all the steps, now let me clear the screen. And now if you run the kubectl command, kubectl get nodes. Okay, it says no resources found because even though we have created the master node, but this is a AWS managed service, so you wouldn't have access to the underlying operating system, underlying virtual machines that is hosting the workload. So you won't see anything over here, but you are getting no resources found. That means it was able to authenticate with the cluster and it's working as expected. So what you can do is you could do get all, and now it's showing you the cluster IP that's been created. So that means our master node has been created successfully. Now let's go ahead and create the worker nodes and associate it with the master node. For that, let's go back to the console. Okay, I'll go to the cluster. Okay, I'll select the cluster and I'll go to compute. And over here you see an option node group. So I'll hit on add node group. So node group is basically a group of worker nodes that will be hosting all your deployments, your pod, basically the non-control plane components. Okay, I'll give it a name. Let's call it worker node. And then it'll ask you a node IAM role. So because I haven't created any node role, so I'll go to the IAM console. I'll open this in a new tab and I'll create a new IAM role. So I hit on create role. I select the service as EC2, click on next permission. So the policy that we would need for this role, there are like 3 policies. So if you could just search EKS, first one is EKS CNI policy. This is for networking. Then we have worker node policy so that it should be able to manage the worker nodes. And then the third one is for registry so that it could read the container registry. So we just need the container read only access. Okay, and these 3 policies should be enough. I hit on next tag, review. Once I hit on review, make sure that these 3 policies are attached to this role. I'll give it a node role, a name. Then I hit on create role. And it'll take some time and create the role. It says the role has been created now. So I'll go back to my cluster and hit refresh. Once I do that, the role would appear over here. So I'll attach this role to this worker node. You could also use a launch template. So if you have some predefined installables that needs to be configured on these worker nodes, you could do that. So for now, I'll just keep it default. I won't add any labels or taints. Hit on next. So now it'll ask me the compute resources details, like which AMI would you want to use for worker node. I'll select the default one, which is Amazon Linux 2. And the capacity is on demand. This is also good. I'll select a smaller instance type for the demonstration purpose. So I'll go with T3 micro. It doesn't have T2 micro. So T3 micro is the smallest one. I'll select that one. I'll probably use a small disk size, which is 5 gigs. And then it will ask you for the node group scaling configuration. So minimum size, maximum size desired. I'll keep everything as 2. So there'll be 2 nodes available all the time. So that if one of them crashed or restarted, the other one still able to handle the workload. And it will ask me like node group update configuration, like maximum unavailable nodes should be only one. That means even if one node fail, one should be available all the time. This would be required in case there is any updates happening on the worker nodes, or any patching required on the server. So I'll keep it default. Then I'll hit on next. Again, it will ask me subnets. So it selected the default subnets in my default VPC. This is good. Now we would need to do SSH to the worker nodes. So for that, I'll just enable this one. You could allow the SSH from a particular security group only, or you could just allow it from everywhere. Like I said, this is just I'm gonna destroy the server after the demo, so I'll just keep it open for everyone. And you have to select the key pair as well. So I'll use the same key pair, or you could create a new key pair and associate it over here. And this is like you could click over here and it will open IAM console, and using that you could create a key pair. Okay, so I hit on next, review everything. Everything looks good to me, and I'll hit on create. So I'm gonna pause the video for a few minutes, and then we'll come back again to see more details. So we have waited for another couple of minutes, and we see that our worker node is active now. If we click on nodes over here, we'll see two nodes because we have specified the desired and maximum capacity as two. So these two are the public IPs of each of the servers, and it's part of this worker node group, and there is no health issues associated with it. So this is good. Now let's go to our putty session and see and run kubectl command. So kubectl get nodes. Now we see two worker nodes, and both of them are in ready status. Okay, and they both are using this EKS version number, and ready, that means they are attached to the master node as well. So we could run some more commands, like we could do get pods hyphen hyphen namespace equal to cube system to see our control plane components. And we see we have these two nodes. These two are worker nodes. Then we have two pods for core DNS and two pods for kubeproxy. Now if we do kubectl get all, and we specify namespace as cube system, we'll see all those details. Like it has one cluster IP, one daemon set of type AWS node, and kubeproxy, one deployment of core DNS with two pods, and one replica set with two pods. Okay, now we can just try to create a deployment to see if it's running properly or not. So I'll just paste this command and specify replicas as 2. Okay, so what this will do is it will create a deployment with name nginx using the image nginx with two replicas. That means there'll be two pods running behind this deployment. So I hit enter, and it's a deployment created. Let's see kubectl get pods. So I see two nginx pods. They are in container creating status. It will take few more seconds before they are up. So I see one is running, another one is still in container creating. Now they both are up and running. So this is what we have done. So we have created the EKS cluster. We created the cluster role, and we created worker nodes, associated that worker node with the master node. And also we have installed kubectl command line utilities and AWS CLI utility. So this is what we have done so far. In next few minutes, we'll see how we can do the same thing with EKS CTL, which is easy way to do this, all of the things. And yeah, let's get into it. Before we go ahead and replicate the same step with EKS-CTL utility, let's destroy the resources that have been created with this particular session, so that you won't be charged for all those unnecessary costs. So I'll go over here to my console over here. Okay, so first I delete the node group, and then I'll delete the cluster. So with this, I select the node group, then I hit on delete. I confirm the node name, which is worker node. I hit confirm, and it's gonna take few minutes before it's deleted. So I'll wait for that. I'll wait for few minutes and then we'll delete the cluster. Okay, so after waiting a couple of more minutes, we see that there is no node group available over here. That means it's been deleted successfully. Let's go to our EC2 console and see if it's terminated. Yes, I can see both the nodes that were used as worker nodes have been terminated successfully. Now let's go back again and delete our test cluster. So I'll go to cluster, select the cluster, and hit on delete. It'll ask me to confirm the name. So I'll put test cluster over here and hit on delete. It's again gonna take some time, but it'll be deleted after a few minutes, and then you should be good. You could keep the IAM roles as intact, as it won't cost you anything. But if you want, you can delete that as well. All right, now that we have seen how to install EKS cluster with AWS Management Console and how to destroy that manually, now let's see the easiest and probably the best way to do this without any hassle and without remembering like a lot of minute details. So this is with the a command line utility called EKSCTL. So we are at the official documentation of this particular utility. So if we scroll down below, it says it's a simple CLI tool for creating the clusters on EKS, and it is written in Go language and uses CloudFormation stack. So CloudFormation is an infrastructure as a code tool provided by AWS. Even though it uses the CloudFormation stack behind the scenes, but you don't have to worry about remembering the CloudFormation commands or the architecture, because it automatically takes care it for you. And you just have to run a command, run a simple command, EKSCTL create cluster, and it will create the EKS cluster for you with all the default values. If you want, you can specify the values as the parameter to the command, or if you leave it like this, it will take all the default values and create a cluster for you. We'll walk you through how it is, but it is pretty simple and straightforward to use. I wanted you to have the basic knowledge about the EKS cluster. That is why I have shown you with the AWS console how it works, what all the different components that we have to create. And now when we'll be doing it with EKSCTL, you'll see how simple it is. Okay, then let's go to the installation. So installation is pretty straightforward. You download a binary from the given URL, and that's it. And for Windows, you download it with chocolatey. For Mac, you download it with Brew. That should be it. It has some requirements as well, like when we did the installation with the AWS console, we created the user credential of our admin user and used that to provision the cluster for us. Over here, we would be doing the same thing. If you don't want to use your admin user, you could create a custom user and provide all these permissions to that user. So there'll be a separate policies for each of them. You could create a role, assign all these policies to that particular role, add that role to the user. If you want, you could just go to this URL, okay, over here, and you will see all the different permissions that it requires. So it should have EC2 full access, elastic load balances access, CloudWatch auto scaling, and access to create the service linked role for all these services. This is just for the EC2 full access, and then we have the similar for CloudFormation, EKS, IAM, all those. So you could just create a policy with all these inline policies and attach it to your user. Okay, and as I said, like it will be running this is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. You just run this command and it will provision a cluster for you with all the default options, like an auto generated name if you don't specify a name, if you don't specify the node family. So it would take uh, node count as 2 and node family as M5 large. This is like for the worker nodes, and it will use the official AWS EKS AMI as the node image. By default, it will create in this default region, and then a dedicated VPC. It will create a VPC for you. It will create the subnets, and you don't have to worry about the networking and all those components. Okay, so let's just go ahead and install the utility and create our cluster with it. So I'll just copy the commands from here and run it over here in my PuTTY session. So remember, it still needs to have your kubectl utility to interact with the cluster and AWS credentials so that it will have the permission to create the cluster with this EKS-CTL utility. So if you haven't done so far, or if you have cleaned up the previous server, then you could do an AWS configure to configure the credentials using the secret access key, and you could install the kubectl utility as well. Okay, let's go ahead. So I've already installed this utility. Okay, from these two commands. So let's do EKS-CTL version, and it will show you the version, and that means it's properly installed. So let's see all the different commands that is available for us to use. If we do EKS-CTL-H, it will show you the primary commands associated with it. So these two are our main commands to create and delete resources. And then you would have a lot of different other options as well. So what I'll do is I'll do EKS-CTL create cluster, and then I'll give it a name. So if I don't specify any other options, let's give it test cluster one. So if I don't specify any other options and just hit enter at this point of time, then it will create the cluster with all the defaults that we have seen. And but for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of making you understand the concept behind it, I'll just specify a few different options, and I'll let that utility take care the rest of it. Okay, so I'll just probably hit a new line with this, and or maybe let's just see the different options that we have first. So when you do this, if you add -h in front of it, it'll show you all these options. So I'll just append on this command. Let's see. So we have name. So I've already specified the name. Then I can also use region. So hyphen region CA central one, as I want it to be provisioned in my Canada region. Okay. Then the next one is let's see, node group name, maybe this one. Okay, I'll give it name worker node. Then we have node min and max. So if we if we keep it default, if we don't specify this parameter, it will take it as 2. So 2 is the default number, and node type is this we can specify. Instance type, node type is, I'll put T2 micro. So remember, this option T2 micro was not available when we did it from the console. Only T3 micro was available. So this is another additional benefit of using this. If we don't specify the node AMI family or AMI type, it will take the default Amazon Linux and the auto AMI for that. So I'll probably let it do that. So I'll hit enter at this point. So it will take these 3-4 options, and rest it will use the default values. So once I hit enter, it will go ahead and provision all the resources for us. So let's look at one by one. First, it will set the availability zones. So we have these 3 zones available in CA central region. Then it created these 3 subnet for us. That means it would have created the VPC as well for us. So it created all the networking components like VPC subnets, and then it went ahead and imported the CloudFormation template. Then it says the cluster logging is disabled. You could enable it or leave it by default. So I'll probably give it few more minutes, and then we'll see our cluster would be in progress or creating state over here, as it's just waiting for the CloudFormation template to be deployed. So let's just wait for a few minutes, and then we'll come back again. All right, after waiting around 10 to 15 minutes, I can see my cluster is now being created and it's showing as active. I see all the server endpoints and all the URLs have been populated over here along with the cluster IAM role, which is like what we have configured manually when we created it via console. So all the different components that we created with the console has now been auto provisioned for us with that cloud formation stack. And if we see over here, the output of our EKS CTL utility, it also created the kube config file. This is what we have configured manually, and it created two worker nodes. So let's run our first command, kubectl get nodes, and we should see two worker nodes in ready status, which is all of like both of them are here. And if we see kubectl get all hyphen namespace equal to kube system. So these are two worker nodes. Then we have CoreDNS, kube proxy, we have cluster IP. This is done, this is completed. And now let's go ahead and see the different components from console as well. So if we go to the instances, I hit refresh, we see two worker nodes over here that's been created just now. Okay, and if we go to the VPC, there'll be a new VPC and new subnets that would have been created. There'll be a cluster IAM role as well, and IAM profile as well. So everything was created by that CloudFormation stack, and it was created by EKS CTL with just one single command. How easy that is! Make sure you destroy the cluster after your work has been done, else it would accumulate unnecessary charges for you. So to do that, this is again as simple as it was to create the cluster. So you just input the command eksctl delete cluster and then cluster name hyphen name, and the cluster name was test cluster 1, and that should be it. You hit enter and it will destroy all the resources for you. It says rate exceeded, but it will wait for a few seconds and it will trigger that again, so it would be deleted, don't worry about it. And that should be it. I believe this video was somewhat valuable for you and your time, and you would have learned something out of it. And if you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe my channel if you haven't done so. If you are facing any difficulties or issues or errors while following this tutorial, just provide me the details in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with any of your queries. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good day.